All right, well, we will go ahead and get rolling here. Welcome to the first session of DrupalCamp Asheville 2021. We are joined by Jaspreet Singh. He will be presenting Promising Project Evaluation, How to Get Your Weekends Back. So thank you for joining us. In the session today, please do feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'll be collecting any of those questions so that they can be asked at the end and Jaspreet can get you those answers. If we don't have time to get to all of the answers, I'll make sure to get those collected so we can get those followed up on after the session and after camp. So please give us a warm welcome for Jaspreet, and I will go ahead and turn it over. And Jaspreet, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thanks for my warm welcome. Well, thank you so much for joining this session. This is my first session in the DrupalCamp Asheville, and very good morning to everyone, first of all. My session is the promising project evaluation, how to get your weekend back. So in this session, we'll talk about many things in terms of traditional scheduling, in terms of what's a better way in order to do the estimate, how the capacity planning can be better, and what are the ways in order to make it more better. So we'll discuss that. Uh, my name is Jasprit Singh. I'm a project. I'm working with an Excellent for last 8 years. Overall, I have around 11 of year of experience, and my previous role was QA as a quality assurance automation quality assurance engineer. Then after I switched my role from QA to PM, and from since last I guess more than a couple of years, I'm working in uh, as a project manager, and I have also worked as a speaker. I have played many submissions in Drupal Camp London, Pune, and many other camps as well. So, thank you so much. Hi from Excellent. We are a digital agency, and we are working throughout the remote. And it's a completely remote, and we our employees are working throughout all over the globe. And we are the strength of our company is more than 130, and we work completely in Drupal. And apart from that, we have already started work on the new technologies for the front end stuff as well. Here's the agenda. In our further slides, we'll talk about the traditional scheduling, what's the benefits, what's the effective way in order to do the estimate, how we can do that, how to prepare the strategy in order to estimate in the various levels of the project. So this is a very crucial part where we'll discuss them with an example, how to plan the uncertainty in your projects, how to discover the team capacity, how to plan it, how to get the data for the previous estimates. So we'll discuss over there in our further slides. Traditional scheduling. So I would like to share one story. In the initial year of my career, actually, there was a one developer, and we got a one new opportunity from the one client side, and the client was pretty much interested and had a good project, and he said that like we want to build this project, and he has a set of number of hours of estimation which client has already proposed so far. Okay, and even he did not ask us like how much time it will take, but he just proposes that this much amount of budget and this much amount of estimation he has, and based upon that he work upon that. Once the developer starts asking the question like how did you get the estimation in terms of for this project, then there was no answer. So it means there was some lack in terms of traditional scheduling where it could fit. In our further slides we'll discuss like how it is a beneficial for the small scale projects, but it how it could be the it is long scale projects. So this is a kind of story. So at the time developer tried to start the work without estimating the things and try to stick with the estimations which has been proposed by the client. Once he started, then he feels that the estimation is not accurate and it will take less amount of hours. Then he tried to complete that work, then client supposed to pay the actual amount which he has already committed during the start, but it somewhere I feel so like it was a kind of loss from the for the client instead of the company, the organization. The last crux is if we go with the proper estimate planning, uh, capacity planning and other things, then definitely it would be more beneficial for the client as well as for the organization or the agencies who are working or dealing directly with the clients. Moving ahead to the next slide, which is traditional scheduling. So here are the few things which I've already discussed in the previous story, which is client proposes a fixed date of the delivery. PM is the person who is accountable in order to create the plan, assign without thinking much about that, like what's a brief about like a task estimation. So it's not kind of that. So it's just assigning the things to the client, like these are the 10 number of items. We have a deadline of 2 weeks. We just need to deliver that. So this is a process of the traditional scheduling. Client fixes scope and budget. Traditional scope, once it is estimated by the client or it is committed. In the initial story we discussed that client committed the fixed number of hours, but developer took less number of hours in order to complete that, but still it was not revised because the client has already signed the SOW contract and it was committed by the client as well. Now let's talk about the pros of the traditional scheduling. So the first one is it's a very obvious, which is the fixed cost budget for the customers. Less involvement in terms of client as well as because clients is the like in a month you're supposed to complete the work. Then after he just check it out like bi-weekly check-in, he will check it out how much work is done, time do they need in order to complete that. So these are the kind of signs of the less involvement. But on other side, in terms of agile methodology estimation process, where we usually get the UAT from the client after every sprint, so there is some deviation in between the traditional and the agile methodology estimation process. Reporting and the planning process is easy because we do not need to plan the sprints, we do not need to plan the is divided into the task and other things, but it is a kind of the list of 10 number of modules are there. We take the 10 number of tickets and assign it to the relevant developer. Useful for the smaller projects, yes, I completely agree here, because if we follow, because nowadays the many small scale companies this strategy approach in order to follow the traditional one for 2 weeks, 1 month, or couple of months projects. So definitely traditional scheduling will be more beneficial. But for the long scale projects, kind of 1 year or 2 year projects, then it would be not feasible thing in order to plan those things accurately. Let's talk about the flip side of the story for this traditional scheduling, in which there are many chances in order to miss the deadline. That is the first thing, because let's suppose client has suggested like we need to complete this thing in a 1 month, then there could be chance some uncertainty plans have not been done during the start of the phase, and developer was not available, or there could be some other reasons as well. So there are many chances, the chances are high in order to miss the deadlines. Stuffing burnout, let's suppose if you feel so like the time has already accomplished, but like let's suppose 15 days have already been passed out of 1 month, then definitely you will the staffing will start feeling overwhelmed, and it will cause a lot of issues in terms of stress will be high from the employee point of view. Budget overruns, definitely if you timeline was 1 month, and if you are able to achieve the things in a month, or more than a month, then you're supposed to charge to the client for a month only, not for the actual hours you have already spent so far. Technical debts, there are many things which comes under the technical debts, whether the technical capability will comes into that as well. So many things, let's suppose if the team is not capable but still receive the project, so many other items comes into this point as well. Low level of ownership of the requirement from the development team. So client provide the requirement, but they just started work on into that. In case if there are few queries, then definitely clear with that. But in terms of recommendations, suggestions, which we are already doing from the client side in order to get the clarity in the agile methodology process, which is not happening in the traditional way, where client already fixed the scope and budget in the traditional process. Moving ahead, let's see, is there a better way to do that? This is a good question. Then there is a famous quote from the Thomas Edison. Yes, there is a way to do it better. Let's find it out how to make it better. In order to make move forward, let's assume a couple of things. First thing is your team requires to finish the multiple projects with the unconventional budgets and timelines. So this is a one scenario. Second scenario is we also need to maintain the work-life balance for the team in order to go for the long-term competence and the sustainability. So these are the two scenarios. We will discuss these scenarios in our further slides. How to plan better in terms of estimation and capacity. How to plan the uncertainty in terms of fixed scope of projects, and how to give a clarity to the client as well. Effective ways to do the estimate. There are many ways in order to make the estimation better, because if you will estimate better, then definitely your team, your people will definitely will not burn their oil during the weekends. So that is the first thing, agile methodology process. If you can follow this agile methodology process, then definitely there are many terms comes under that. Let's suppose the POCO planning, t-shirt sizing, large, uncertain, and a small one. So you have already heard about that, these things. So these are the common terms which are using in the agile methodology estimating process. Second one is whenever you are planning things, then make sure to plan for the uncertainty as well. I have planned few examples in order to how to make it better, or how to plan these things. So there are few examples which I'll share in the further slides. Next one is define the team capacity based upon the historic faculty, productivity data. So whenever you are planning the capacity, make sure you are looking at the past at least 2 or 3 months data in order to see how the person who is going to start work on this project has a good historic data. Is he productive enough in order to work on, in order to complete or achieve the milestones? So these are the things which you will get from the historic data. How to get that those kind of data? So I'll discuss that in the further slides. Allocate capacity. So once you analyze the previous historic data, and then after based upon the data analysis, then after you can allocate the capacity in your relevant project. Project estimation. So that is a one of the best thing which like in order to share what kind of challenges which we'll face while giving the project estimate, what are the things which we need to take care while giving the estimation on this project. First thing, how to prepare the strategy to estimate at various levels of the project. So when I said the various levels, so it means let's suppose your project starts. Then what kind of phases are there where you can estimate it to make the process more better? The first is the evaluate. Basically, there are several stages. The first one is the initial phase of the project. Once project starts, then the pre-sales team or the business analysis team will provide the proper tentative estimation to the client in order to get the approval on the tentative estimates. Second one is the backlog grooming. So once we have the list of placeholders available in our backlog, the business analysts who have the complete understanding about the project, technical analyst, project manager, so try to groom all the tickets which are there in the backlog, and we can estimate those things. Third one is the sprint planning. So these are the three phases where we plan and estimate it more better in order to get the more clarity. In the first phase, the initial phase, we have the less clarity. In the backlog grooming, we got the tentative clarity, but not the fully. But once we start the sprint planning, then at least the grooming and estimation will be done by the team in order to move on with the process. Let's discuss in brief one by one. So let's talk about the first phase, which is the initial phase of the project. First one is decide if you should try the project from the client side. You got the requirement, but it is your decision. Like you would like to go for that. You have the proper resources. You have the relevant people, relevant technical people in order to work on that project. That is the first decision a pre-sales team supposed to take that. Sometimes you do not have the clear visibility of the requirement because client just shared the requirement but didn't get on the call in order to provide you the proper clarity. So sometimes you don't have the clear visibility. Third one is, let's suppose client provide you the one project requirement, and you have the tentative understanding on the requirement, sorry. And basically you will check it out, like if the similar kind of workflow you have already implemented in the any of the previous projects. You look at the data and then after move on with the relevant process. Like let's suppose, here's an example. In the project one, you can see the number of hours are 600 and number of weeks took around 7 weeks. The capacity means two people who have worked on this project. In the second project, we have spent around 2000 of hours. Number of weeks were 14 and the capacity was 5. So if you got the similar kind of requirement from the client side, then you can look at the back picture and look at the past projects which have already accomplished. Based upon that, you would be able to give some tentative estimation to the client. This is the first phase. Let's talk about the second phase, where we're supposed to do the backlog grooming. Conclude. First of all, the whatever whoever the person who will do the grooming kind of one is a responsible person is a technical analyst or technical architect, and the accountable person is business analyst who will provide you do the discussion, like how much, what kind of planning and the discovery you should engage in this project. Then after they start creating the tickets in the backlog. Second is, it depends upon the project needs as well. Sometimes the project needs is to create the tickets in a brief manner, provide the proper appropriate approach, implementation details, acceptance criteria, and go for that. Third one is, whenever you are providing some estimation to the client, because right now in this phase as well, you do not have the 100% clarity because you did not dive deep into the things, because you have created the placeholders in the project management backlog. Try to add some buffer in order to be on the safe side, because once you'll add the buffer, when I said buffers, it means, let's suppose if uh, the ticket estimation is around 10 hours, and but still there are few queries needed from the client in order to clarify that, or you have the tentative idea like this could be the thing which we need to build. So try to make sure to add some percentage buffer with the estimation, so at least once the requirements are clarified from the client or the queries are clarified from the client, then you can set some proper estimation to the ticket. Moving on to the third phase, sorry, this is the backlog grooming example. So here you can see that in the activities, I have listed down all the activities which you are already doing so far. The grooming, estimation, POC if there is needed, wire from sketch, back end, front end, PR review, it's the technical analyst, architect role. The QA is supposed to do the manual testing, regression testing, and the sanity. Based upon that, the efforts may vary as well. In case there is the involvement of the client, then try to make sure these things, these values, these variables will be added in the estimation sheet. Then definitely you will get some better idea. In case if you want to add some buffer, if you don't have any much clarity, then try to add a one more row which is the uncertainty buffer, and try to add some percentage buffer as per your past experience. On the second column here, you can see that the estimation confidence. First three rows have the 6 component. It means the confidence level is high, so that's the reason the base hours and the high hours are pretty same. If you feel so you are not pretty much confident in terms of requirement or in terms of understanding point of view, try to reduce the estimation level. Here you can see that in the row number 4 and 5, I've reduced this confidence from 6 to 5. Based upon that, the high hours will be increased. Whenever we supposed to estimate in the ticket, then we will add the high number of hours instead of the base hours. This is the process which we'll do during the backlog grooming. Now we will talk about the third phase, which is the start of the phase, which is the beginning of the sprint, which we call as a sprint planning. Post discovery, whatever the backlog grooming which you have done so far in order to get the clarity from the requirement from the client. So then after doing the sprint planning, many activities can be followed. One is, in the sprint planning, you do the sprint vision in order to understand the what's sprint vision, what's a goal, what's a milestone you're supposed to achieve. User story segregation, and then after you split into the task and subtask. Estimation and story points will be updated in the tickets. Then after grooming, approach discussion, if there is any queries which we need to clarify from the stakeholder, then we're supposed to do that. Once we do the sprint planning, then our chart should look like this. This screenshot I have already taken so far from the Jira project management tool. Fortunately, my today my sprint starts. So here you can see that the start date is today, and it starts from this, and we need to achieve and complete the things on 23rd of July. So initial phase during the sprint planning. So your board should look like this. The chart look like this. Here you can see that the red mark, it just starts. So it means whenever the developers start working accordingly, so you are pretty much aware about this process. So the red line goes high. It means you need to work upon that. If the things are not working as per the schedule, if line goes down with the gray line, then definitely you can understand you are doing overcommitted things. If you are able to achieve on time, then it means you are on schedule and on time. These are the three phases which we have discussed for the estimation process, the various levels where we estimate the things. Now let's talk about, we have discussed estimation, how to do that in the various levels. Now we talked about how to plan for uncertainty, because we know that whenever the developers estimation, development task estimation is there, front end task estimation is there, we can do that. But how about the uncertainty? Identify risk. So there are famous examples of the non-knowns and unknown unknowns. The word unknown, no, unknowns and unknown non-knowns are the frequently used in the project management. Here are the couple of examples. Non-unknowns that leads to risk you are aware of, such as cancelled flights, because we are aware that the flights can be cancelled anytime. So it's a non and unknown risk. Unknown unknowns are the uncertainties that comes from the circumstances that are unexpected, that would not acknowledge. First thing is in the first thing, the non unknowns that could go for the risk. We need to set some budget for the risk management. And for the unknowns, basically you need to set some uncertainty buffer within the estimates. So it depends upon the situation and the circumstances which you face in your project. There are several ways in order to capture the uncertainty. First thing is range of estimates. If you have the list of range, then you can define that. Let's suppose the developers have estimation around 60 hours, then you can set some buffer in terms of 10%, 20%, so accordingly. The first thing, there are a couple of ways in order to do that. One is uncertainty modifiers for the per task estimate. You can set based upon the development efforts. You can set based upon the per task as well. Let me give you more example on same. This is the first example. Let's suppose Here you can see that the setup theming, the front end build tool. So we have already estimated the low and the high hours. At the last, here you can see that the uncertainty buffer I have added as a 20%. It's not kind of permanent thing like which I have set as a 20%. It may vary from project to project. From my past experience, we were doing based upon the experience. Kind of 20% is the best buffer time which you can add in order to be on the safe side. If there is need to debug it more, or if you are facing any technical challenges, then definitely this will save you while working on that. The second example is whenever we have the list of tasks. Here you can see that the total number of low hours are around 60. Based upon that, I have set the uncertainty buffer as a 20%, quality assurance as a group 20%, project management as a 15%. Still these variables, the 20%, 15% are not sticky. So you can check your past experience, how much buffer do you need. Based upon that, you can update it on your estimation sheet. This is the best way, because let's suppose if the 60 hours of estimation have already been burned out and you don't have any buffer in order to complete the work, then it would be very difficult in order to complete the things on time. So definitely this buffer time would help you in order to make the things better, make the plan things better. Now we have talked about estimates, we have talked about uncertainties. Now let's talk about the discovery or team capacity. Let's illustrate some heads for the team capacity. There are a couple of heads. Basically, one is the non-productive time. So basically, I know that your team capacity is 40 hours per week. One person who can devote 40 hours per week. But how much time he's supposed to devote into the non-productive time? So there are a couple of heads we'll talk about. First one is the non-productive time, time which is not directly connected with the building services performance of a job or the task. Kind of, if the person is completely blocked due to some technical reason, person is sitting idle waiting for work. And because let's give you an example of QA, because sometimes once sprint starts, so during the start of the sprint QA do not have much work, but at the end of the sprint QA have the much work. So it's not a correct example, but at least you can relate. The In order to waiting for the work is a one thing which could count as a non-productive time. Second example is overheads. Overhead is a productive time, productive work that is not directly related to the work on the specific projects. What kind of things? Because let's suppose if you are having a one-to-one call with your project manager, one-to-one call with your performance coach, if you are getting any training sessions, attending webinars, so those are kind of overheads, but that is not related to the projects. Here are a few examples: one-to-one catch-up call with the members, process discussion like kind of how to do the time logging, which ticket, client asks the proof of concept, whether sometimes it is billable, sometimes it is not. Onboarding new team members if the person is not available due to some some technical reasons or some personal reasons, then we need to onboard another person. So these are kind of overhead which will not bill to the client. Let's discuss some same. One is the productive time versus non-productive time. Second one is project work versus overheads. I have prepared some examples on same, so I can give you. It will give you more clarity. First thing, average productive time versus non-productive time. Here you can see that the productive time is 30 hours, because person was capacity was 40 hours, but person was able to devote only 30 hours. And in the non-productive time he can devote the 10 hours due to some certain reasons. And at the last you can calculate the percentage of velocity, like how much percentage we supposed to bill to the client of the productive as well as the non-productive time. Second one is average project work versus overheads. Here you can see that the productive work is 20 hours, overhead is 20 hours, still the percentage is 50%. whenever you are planning the things, you need to make sure, whenever you are committing to the client, how much capacity we have, make sure to take care of these things. Your person is spending on the overheads, or how much time the person is spending on the. So at least in order to review the previous past time logs, at least you will get some better idea, like the how much time the person is devoting on the overheads or the non-productive time. Analysis mode, I will start analyzing between the difference between the productive time versus project time. You may well have the team members who are productive, but overhead your projects may not be getting done on time. So there could be some analysis are needed. It may change from project to project as well. Capacity planning. So capacity worksheet, here you can see that the person capacity was 40 hours, person is available only for the 20 hours. So this data you can get from the past historic data, because if you download the previous historic data for the last 3 or 4 months, then you will get some idea like how to improve on the overheads or non-productive time. So you'll be on the streamline position if you can start working on that, or if you start thinking in that direction. Capacity worksheet, framework to designate you provide the estimate between your team. Basically we allocate the people on the weekly basis, or the project manager is supposed to, uh, or in order to review the time logs on the weekly basis, so at least the process should be streamlined. So it should not be the case the project manager is supposed to review the things after a month. It would be very difficult for the project manager in order to get, or in order to uh, provide the at the same time. So if you will do the review on the weekly basis, you will get make the process better, and instead of reactive actions, the corrective action would be the much better to make the process streamlined. So the staffing team definitely examining in the next 2 weeks in order to where the projects are expected, near time, what's available ratio, and what we are billing to the client. So these are the things which project manager and the capacity planning team or the staffing team supposed to take care of that. How about the discuss about the estimation and other things on synthetics as well? How about the emergencies? Kind of, let's suppose if your site is facing downtime issues, the site is completely down, what if the right number of traffic on your website, some critical Drupal security updates are there, it could be WordPress updates as well, but I'm specifically talking about the Drupal. So suffer bugs on the website, the and the security is also high. So how to manage these? Already planned the uncertainties, you have already planned the other things, capacity to plan these things. Whenever you are planning the capacity, make sure to preserve 5 hours separately. If you are planning for a person, let's suppose in the past historical data, you get that the person is 35 hours, a person has a ability to work on 35 hours, 15 hours for the overhead, 20 hours is availability which you are billing to the client. Make sure to 5 hours reserved for the emergencies work, so at least you will be on the safe side. In my personal experience, for the Drupal security updates, we are giving a very high priority. The fixed 8 hours of estimation is already approved, and whenever we are getting this any emergency from the past 4 items, then we do not need to take any approval from the client. We just start working on that because we have a pre-approved hours from the client. Here are the key takeaways. Make sure whenever you are estimating data from the past historic values, if you are getting the appropriate data from the past data, then definitely your the baseline will be more stronger. And if there is a need of any corrective actions, then definitely you can put on place after a week instead of after a month. Make sure to review and repeat regular this process in order to increase your efficiency. So the action item is mostly on the PMs, scrum masters, or the technical architects in order to review these things on the regular basis, so that wherever you need to provide some appropriate actions, at least you can put some valuable inputs there in order to make it correct. Is the last slide. You can reach out to me on the social medias. So these are the slugs. You can reach out to me the LinkedIn. There are a few blogs which I've already written. Check it out on the team blogs page as well. Thank you so much for my side. Uh, any questions so far?
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Jaspreet.
Thank you so much.
I am not seeing any questions yet in the chat. Does anyone have any questions that you have not posted yet in the chat?
No questions so far?
It does not look like it, just a thumbs up and some clapping. All right,